Hey there. So it's a beautiful spring morning. It's only, we haven't had many sunny days this year, so I'm happy to get out here, even though it's still a little cool. I wanted to talk about a reel. I actually have two of these, and it's been, I think, one of my better purchases as I've got into bait finesse. If you're looking to get into bait finesse sort of in a budget way, and honestly, so far for me, if you want to spend less than $250, I think this is the number one reel. I just because I'm comparing it to reels that cost more than $250, and it's holding its own. So the reel I'm talking about is the Tsurinoya Dark Wolf Ultra. This was the first reel that I purchased. It wasn't the first that I received because it came from AliExpress, and sometimes delivery takes a little while, and I think I had the Chinese New Year in there, so I waited a little while for these reels. But the first thing that I did, Paul Gaskell, he's got a YouTube channel and a fishing blog called Fishing Discoveries. It's where I learned about it when I first started looking into bait finesse, and his recommendation was it was underbraked. And I know I'm a horrible caster. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've probably seen a backlash on bait finesse. So I am not a bait casting, expert. I've barely done it over my fishing lifetime. So, but bait finesse style just really appealed to me, and so I wanted to try it. So I did upgrade the magnets, and it's a real simple thing to do. I'll have a link down in the descriptions to the magnets I got off of eBay. It's probably a lifetime supply. I think it was $11 or $12 or something like that. Maybe $17 with shipping. But it was really worth it, and I do think it has transformed this reel. But let's just talk a little bit about the reel. I don't want to, this isn't like a specs review, and in fact I like to make sure that I fish with things, and obviously there's clips spread in of me using this reel. But this was the reel that I caught my first bait finesse fish on. It has been, I think every time I've had the Dark Wolf Ultra out, I've had a successful fishing trip, so that probably helps a little bit. But it is very lightweight, it's comfortable, and I think the biggest thing for me is I compared it a lot to the Daiwa Alpas Air TW, because those are the first two reels that I had, and this comes out on top. Even without upgrading the bearings, which I'm probably going to do, and if I do that, there'll be another video coming. But even just with the brake mod, literally a couple dollars worth of magnets, this outperforms the Daiwa Alpas Air TW to the point where I think I'm going to get rid of the Alpas Air. I like these reels that much. I have two of them. Probably my biggest concern is, are they still going to be available once once they wear out? And the answer is probably no. That might be the biggest question mark on this, is what's the durability? Is this going to last a long time or not? But it's got a 7.1 to 1 gear ratio. It's really smooth for the size. It casts really well. I've cast some very lightweight trout lures. I think getting sub 1 gram is where the spool upgrade will come into play. I've been using Kingdom Microfly braid on it. So actually the Alpas Air had Verivus braid, arguably a much better braid that cost 6 times as much, I think. And it still couldn't keep up with this reel. A couple other benefits that I think the Dark Wolf Ultra has over the Alpas Air is if you fish in cold weather, this being a composite body, fishing in cold weather, you don't feel it nearly as much. The Alpas Air is a metal body, and I tell you what, the thumb bar, the side, it's much colder to hold in your hands than the Dark Wolf Ultra. The Alpas Air is much colder. The other thing is this surprises me. This reel actually feels smoother than the Alpas Air. It's more pleasing to use, and I think the fact that I just feel more connected to it, and it just feels like it's working. It casts better, it casts smoother, it just feels better when I'm using it. I think it's allowed me to catch more fish because I'm not fiddling with the reel as much. I'm not thinking about the reel. I'm just reacting, and I'm just doing. In general, I tend to make better casts with this. And then the last thing is, and I don't know if it'll show up, but it's got a clicking drag, right? And so with the Alpas Air, when I have a bigger fish and I feel it pulling, I have to look back down at the spool just to see if it's pulling drag or not, right? Because I don't want to try to fight the fish if it's pulling drag. You know, it's actually, I mean, it's really a good way to lose a fish. If they're making a run, you need to let the rod and the reel do some of the work so that you don't lose that fish. With the Alpas Air, I don't know if it's necessarily making a strong enough run to pull drag, but at least with the Dark Wolf Ultra, and actually every other BFS reel that I have now, because once I realized that that was such a big deal to me, I made sure that the next ones that I purchased, and there's been a few, and I'll talk about those once I have enough fishing hours in on them. Once I realized how big of a deal that was, it really changed my mind on the Alpas Air. So the Dark Wolf Ultra, I have caught my first bait finesse fish on this. I've caught my personal best rainbow. I caught my first golden rainbow ever, and it was a decent fish. It wasn't huge by any means, but you know, so I caught that. I've had my best day trout fishing ever, probably a couple other firsts on that as well, and it's just been a great performing setup. So I can't recommend this enough. At the time I'm recording this, I think they're going for like $71. That might be with free shipping from AliExpress. I'll have the links down there where you can order it, and I think it's direct from the Tsurinoya store, so it's not like a weird reseller. You know, some people talked about, you know, with it being composite, is there a fit and finish issue? And I really haven't had any issues whatsoever. Things just seem to work. You know, again, I think the one question mark is, a year from now, you know, if I continue to fish with this, you know, several times a month, sometimes several times a week, are these reels still as enjoyable, you know, in 2023 at this time as they are now? You know, I take care of my stuff for the most part. I mean, I'm not tearing them down and lubricating and all that stuff every single week, but I try not to get them too muddy. But honestly, they'll lay in the mud, and you know that happens. So we'll see how they pan out. You know, my reels end up in the stream and the river and the creek all the time, just because I'll lay things down. I'm unhooking a fish, but I just can't see that you're going to find a better bait finesse reel for under $100, honestly. And if you think there is one out there, let me know, and I'll do my best to get it. Hey, if you want to send it to me, and I'll fish with it. I'll try it out. Comparing it to the Alpas Air, which is arguably one of the better, or at least more popular reels out there, this just blows it out of the water. I didn't fish it without the magnet mods, but it's just because I knew that for me, anytime some people think it's under braked, I'm just going to blow it up, right? I fish it on about a brake setting of 2, and so that's you know, that's really where it seems to work out. If I go much below that, I'm going to get more backlashes and not much more casting distance. I adjusted it just like I did the Daiwa reels, where basically I just tightened up the spool until, you know, got rid of the back and forth movement. I can't say enough about this, and it's got the carbon fiber handle. Yeah, it's just it really is a really well connected reel. So again, for less than $100, you know, they're typically, you can get them for 75 or less. If you go direct from AliExpress, on eBay they're probably 125, 150, but you're going to get it this week, right? Instead of waiting, you know, until next month or something, possibly. I think it's a great reel. No hesitations. If you're thinking about getting into bait finesse and you're like, well, I don't want to spend $200 on a Shimano, or, you know, $250 on a Daiwa, or I don't want to, you know, buy a reel and do the conversion on it and all that stuff to turn it into a bait finesse reel, I'm not sure you could touch this reel. You can't beat it, I don't think, with anything you put together. Unless you get a great reel for free, I don't think you can beat it. So if you're thinking about getting into bait finesse, you know, if you're a beginner and you're like, hey, should I buy this? Is this a waste of my money? 100% no. I believe that this is the reel that got me hooked on bait finesse. Right? I was the same way. I'm like, well, I want to try it. I don't want to spend a lot of money. And after I tried it, then I started being like, okay, I want to. What do I get for more money? You know, I knew I wanted to compare it to the Alpas Air, but now I've been buying reels that are more in the 350 range, and now I'm starting to get the reels that I at least like as much as this. But so far, I can't say that there's one that I like better. I haven't fished with those nearly as much. So just keep that in mind. For me, I'm spending 5 times the money to get something that keeps up with this reel so far. So, just an honest review. I just figured I'd share because sort of the whole point of my channel this year, is to share my journey, to figure out how I'm figuring out this bait finesse stuff. And as somebody who's been a lifelong spin fisherman, does this work for me? And so far, yeah, I'm having more fun fishing with stuff like this than I've had in years. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, probably on the water.